A blind girl was sold like property, but ended up touching the heart of a billionaire who had everything except love. She was blind, poor, unwanted. He was rich, powerful, cold. He bought her as a wife not out of love, but for convenience. But what neither of them expected was that she'd open his eyes while still living in darkness. This is the story of Grace and Vincent. Before we dive into today's gripping story, we want to take a moment to appreciate you, our amazing subscribers, new viewers, and the incredible community that makes Moonlight Tales by Samsy so special. Your likes, shares, and thoughtful comments mean the world to us, and we're beyond grateful for your support. If this is your first time here, welcome. You're in for a ride filled with drama, suspense, and unexpected twists. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest stories. And of course, drop a comment below. We love hearing from you, and your support keeps us going. Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive right back into the story, because things are about to get even more intense. That evening, the dining room sparkled like something out of a movie. The table was long, dressed in white cloth and shiny plates. A soft chandelier hung above, casting golden light over everything. Vincent had arranged a small dinner, just the three of them. Him, Grace, and Ella. Grace had dressed with care. Mrs. Bennet helped her pick out a soft blue dress that made her look like a breath of calm. Her hair was gently brushed back, and her usual blindfold was replaced with a delicate silk one. She looked beautiful. Ella arrived late, of course. Her heels clicked sharply on the floor as she entered, dressed in red. Loud, bold, perfect. Her perfume filled the air, sweet but too strong. She leaned in and kissed Vincent's cheek casually, then gave Grace a quick glance like she was looking at a wall. Not a person. Sorry I'm late, Ella said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Had to fix a few things. Vincent, polite as ever, simply nodded. Let's sit. Grace felt the tension from the start. She sat straight, listening carefully. She could hear every shift in Ella's voice, every tap of her nails on the glass. Dinner began quietly. Vincent tried to make light conversation. He asked Grace if she was enjoying the food, and she smiled gently, replying that it was delicious. Oh, she likes it, Ella said suddenly, her voice sweet but sharp. You must have someone describing every dish to her now, don't you, Vincent? Grace froze. Vincent looked up, his eyes narrowing just a little. It's not a problem, he said. The chef explains things very well. Ella let out a laugh, soft and fake. Of course. I just find it funny how far you're willing to go for her. That was when it really started. Grace tried to stay quiet, pretending not to hear the hidden meaning in Ella's words. But it wasn't easy. Vincent spoke calmly. Ella, enough. Ella blinked. Enough? I'm just making conversation. No, Vincent said, his tone sharper now. You're being cruel. The room fell silent. Ella's eyes darted between them, her lips twitching. You're defending her now? I'm asking you to be respectful. Ella laughed again, but this time there was no humor. Wow. Things really have changed. You're protecting the blind girl you bought like she's royalty. Grace's chest tightened. The words stung. Not because they weren't true, but because of how they were said. Vincent stood up slowly. That's enough. Grace stood too. I think I should go, she said softly. No, Vincent said quickly. You stay. I'll take care of this. But Grace was already walking away. Her steps were careful, steady. She didn't say another word. As she disappeared down the hallway, Ella folded her arms, shaking her head. "You really think she's special?" she asked Vincent. "She doesn't even know who you are. What you have. She can't see you." Vincent stared at her, quiet for a moment. Then he said something Ella didn't expect. "That's exactly why she's special." Ella opened her mouth, but no words came. Vincent turned to leave. "You should go," he said. "Tonight." And with that, he walked away, following the path Grace had taken. He didn't find her immediately. She had locked herself in her room. He didn't knock. He didn't want to pressure her. Instead, he stood outside the door for a moment, then walked away, leaving space. That night, Vincent couldn't sleep. He kept seeing her face, hearing the way her voice had gone quiet when Ella spoke. He knew Grace was hurting, and he hated that he hadn't stopped it sooner. The next morning, she didn't come down for breakfast. Vincent told Mrs. Bennet to keep an eye on her and give her whatever she needed. He also made a decision. He wouldn't allow Ella near Grace again. Not ever. Because Grace wasn't just someone he cared for. She was starting to matter more than he thought possible. And that scared him more than anything else. It was a big evening. The long dining table was set with silver plates, candles, and fresh flowers. Vincent had invited a few close friends for dinner, and Ella was one of them. She always made sure to sit close to Vincent, laughing loudly at his jokes, even when they weren't funny. Grace sat quietly at the end of the table. She wore a soft blue dress that Mrs. Bennet had picked for her. Her eyes were hidden behind her usual blindfold. She couldn't see the way Ella kept staring at her with a fake smile. As dinner went on, Ella spoke loudly. "It must be so strange, living in such a big house and not seeing any of it," she said with a small laugh. Some guests chuckled. Grace's fingers froze on her fork. Vincent gave Ella a sharp look but didn't say anything. Then Ella added, "Vincent has always been kind. I mean, taking in someone like you, not many men would do that." That hurt. Grace slowly stood up. "Excuse me," she whispered and left the table. Vincent watched her go. His jaw clenched, and for a moment, he looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. He didn't follow her. He just sat there, silent. That night, Grace stayed in her room. Vincent tried to knock, but she didn't answer. He didn't push. He left her alone, but inside, something in him didn't feel right. 2. Vincent starts falling for Grace, rooftop dinner scene. A few days had passed since that dinner. Vincent had given Grace space. She barely spoke to him, and he respected that. But he noticed how he missed her. One evening, he made a quiet plan. No fancy guests. No loud rooms. Just Grace and him. He asked Mrs. Bennet to set up a small dinner on the rooftop garden. When Grace arrived, guided by Mrs. Bennet, she was surprised by the soft music, the quiet breeze, and the smell of fresh flowers. The table was small. Simple. There were fairy lights hanging above them. "I thought, maybe we could have dinner." "Just us," Vincent said gently. Grace gave a small nod. "Thank you." The chef came out and described every dish to Grace in rich detail, the colors, the textures, the taste. Vincent watched her smile at the way the dishes were explained. He'd never seen her smile like that before. For the first time, he laughed too, really laughed. Not the cold laugh he gave during business meetings, but a soft one from deep inside his chest. They talked. Slowly at first. Then a little more. Vincent told her about his childhood. Grace told him about her dreams before the accident. He didn't see her as the blind girl anymore. He saw her as Grace, the woman who listened, who noticed everything, who didn't treat him like a king but like a real person. That night, as they sat under the stars, Vincent realized something he hadn't felt in a long time. He wanted to be around her. Not out of duty, but because her presence felt like home. It was a special evening. Vincent had planned a fancy dinner at home. He wanted Grace to feel welcome, even though things still felt a little strange between them. The long table was set with candles and beautiful flowers. Grace sat quietly in her seat, her hands resting in her lap. She was nervous. She didn't know what to say or how to act in this rich world. She couldn't see the room, but she could feel the tension. Then Ella arrived. Ella was Vincent's assistant. She was beautiful, loud, and full of pride. She didn't like Grace. She didn't hide it. Such a quiet wife, Ella said with a smile that didn't feel kind. Must be boring for you, Vincent. Grace flinched. Vincent didn't say anything at first. He just poured more wine into his glass. The dinner went on, but Ella kept talking. She spoke about how Vincent used to love being with women who had style, spark, vision. Then she laughed, but it wasn't funny. Grace felt small. Her hands began to shake. Vincent looked at Ella. "That's enough," he said softly but firmly. Ella rolled her eyes. "I was just saying the truth." Grace stood up. She apologized quietly and left the room. Vincent didn't follow her. Not right away. He stayed behind, maybe unsure of what to say or how to fix what just happened. And from that night on, something changed. Vincent became distant. Grace stayed quiet. The space between them grew, like a wall no one knew how to tear down. The morning was quiet and bright. Vincent held Grace's hand as they walked into the hospital together. She wore her blindfold, like always. But today felt different. She was scared, but also full of hope. The doctor smiled kindly and explained everything. Grace nodded, though her heart raced. Vincent whispered, "I'll be right here. Always." They rolled her into the room. The surgery took hours. Tiny tools. Careful hands. A lot of care. When it was done, the doctor placed a special pair of glasses over her eyes. The kind that would protect her while her eyes healed. Grace woke up in a soft bed. Everything felt quiet. Vincent sat beside her, holding her hand again. "You did great," he said with a smile. Days passed. She wore the glasses all the time. At first, everything was blurry and strange. Shapes, lights, shadows. But slowly, the world began to take shape. One day, she stood near the window. She lifted the glasses just a little. And then it happened. She saw light. She saw trees. She saw the color of the sky. Tears fell down her cheeks. She turned and saw Vincent for the first time. His face, his smile, the kind eyes that used to be only a voice. You're real," she whispered. He laughed, soft and warm. "I've always been real." She cried harder, but it was the happy kind. Everything had changed. And yet, the way he looked at her, with gentle eyes and a full heart, stayed the same. Grace could see now. But what mattered most was that she had always been seen. The long dining table sparkled with lights. Silver spoons, shining plates, and tall glasses stood ready. Grace sat quietly at one end. She wore a soft blue dress. Her blindfold was tied gently around her eyes, just like always. Vincent sat across from her. He had invited her to this dinner. But it wasn't just them. Ella was there too. Ella looked beautiful, with her shiny red dress and big smile. She laughed loudly and touched Vincent's arm when she talked. Grace could feel it even though she couldn't see. She felt out of place, like she didn't belong. Ella leaned close to Grace and said, "You're lucky. Many girls would love to be where you are." Grace didn't reply. She only smiled a little, even though it hurt inside. Then, Ella said something louder, so Vincent could hear. "Some people don't know how lucky they are." Some of us actually worked for our place beside Vincent. Vincent frowned. "Ella, that's enough." But Grace had already stood up. She whispered, "I think I'll go to my room." Vincent tried to stop her, but she was already walking away, holding the table edge carefully. He watched her go. After she left, he turned to Ella. "Why did you say that?" Ella laughed again, softer this time. "I was just being honest." Vincent didn't smile. He stayed quiet, then stood up and left too. From that night, things changed. Vincent gave Grace space. He was quiet. He didn't know how to fix what was broken. It was late afternoon when Grace got the strange phone call. The man's voice was soft. "I knew your mother. Can we meet? Please, come alone." He told her to meet him at the glass conservatory near her home. Vincent was away on a trip. Grace didn't tell anyone. She felt curious and nervous. She put on a coat and went. The conservatory was quiet. Glass walls reached to the sky, and the air was still. Light filtered in, making the whole place glow softly. But something felt wrong. Then, a man stepped in. He looked young and unsure. He was tall, with tired eyes. He walked closer. "My name is Lucas," he said. "I was supposed to lie to you." Grace stood very still. "What do you mean?" "I was paid to pretend," he said. "A woman named Ella hired me. She wanted me to make it look like we were having an affair." Grace's mouth opened slightly, shocked. "Why?" "To ruin you," he said. "To make Vincent hate you." Grace's hands curled into fists. "But why are you telling me this?" Lucas looked down. "Because you don't deserve it. You're kind. You don't even know me, but I can tell. I can't hurt someone good." He sighed and rubbed the back of his neck. There was even a photographer hiding outside, ready to take pictures of us. But I couldn't go through with it. Grace nodded slowly. "Thank you for telling me." Then she took out her phone and called Vincent. He answered. "Grace? Are you okay?" "I need you to come to the conservatory," she said calmly. "Come alone. It's important." 15 minutes later, Vincent arrived. The door was slightly open. He stepped inside and saw Grace standing beside Lucas. There were roses on the bench. A small velvet box was next to them. Grace walked to Vincent and took his hand. "There's something you need to know," she said gently. She told him everything. About Ella's plan. About the fake affair. About the hidden camera. Vincent listened, his face quiet but his jaw tight. When she finished, he looked at Lucas. "You can go now." Lucas nodded and left. Vincent looked back at Grace. "I'll take care of Ella," he said. Then he pulled her close, gently. "Thank you for telling me." Grace didn't say a word. She just held on to him. And for a moment, inside the quiet glass house, they stood together, no lies, no tricks. Just truth. The dining room was quiet. Too quiet. Grace sat at the long table, her fingers gently touching the edge of her plate. She could hear the soft clink of silverware, the low hum of music in the background, and the sound of Vincent's quiet breathing nearby. She tried to smile, to stay calm, but something felt off. Then she heard her. Ella. Her voice was sweet, but fake. Vincent, you didn't tell me your wife was so quiet, she said with a small laugh. Or is it just that she doesn't speak unless spoken to? Vincent didn't say anything. Grace could feel the tension rise in the room. I mean, Ella continued, she's pretty, sure. In a delicate sort of way. But don't you think someone like you deserves a woman who can actually see you? That one word, see, stabbed Grace deep inside. Vincent's fork hit the plate. Enough, Ella. But it was too late. Grace stood up slowly, her chair scraping softly. Her heart pounded in her chest. I think I should go, she said quietly. Vincent stood too. Grace. No, she said. I'm fine. I just need some space. She walked out, guided by memory and feeling. Behind her, Ella sipped her wine like nothing had happened. Vincent didn't say a word. But inside, he felt angry. At Ella. At himself. And worst of all, he didn't go after Grace. Not that night. Later, in Ella's apartment. She opened the door slowly, wearing a silk robe and her usual smirk. Vincent, she said, her voice smooth. I wasn't expecting you tonight. I bet, he replied coldly. She tilted her head, trying to act innocent. Something wrong? You lied, Vincent said sharply. You tried to hurt Grace. You hired someone to fake an affair. You had cameras set up. You planned it all. Ella's smile froze. You really thought you could destroy her? He asked, stepping inside. You tried to humiliate the only person who's ever loved me without wanting anything in return. Why her? Ella snapped. What does she have that I don't? She has heart, Vincent said simply. She sees the real me even when she couldn't see it all. Ella's face dropped. Vincent's voice turned cold. You're not just fired. You're done. I'll make sure no one in this city trusts you again. Not after this. He turned to leave. She called after him, but he didn't stop. Back at home, Grace was curled up on the couch, wrapped in a soft blanket. She had been waiting. When she heard the door open, she turned her head toward the sound. Vincent walked in slowly. His eyes found hers. There were no more lies between them. Thank you, he said quietly, for telling me the truth. And for seeing me even before you had your sight. Grace smiled softly. And thank you for choosing me. Even when I didn't understand why. He knelt beside her and gently touched her hand. Their foreheads rested together. No fancy words. No big speeches. Just warmth. And peace. Two people finally safe, finally seen. Together.